A statement from China is suggesting you are more likely to get struck by lightning than to experience adverse reactions from Chinese-made vaccines. But a number of reports appear to say otherwise. Many Chinese citizens have already reported adverse symptoms after getting the jab.
After the vaccination, I felt uncomfortable in my heart. It was arrhythmia and slight fibrosis of the heart. I think my blood circulation isn't flowing properly because of the vaccine.
China's state-run media doesn't seem to be reporting on these cases either. So in this special report, we look into unreported stories of those who say Chinese vaccines aren't so harmless after all. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. China has already vaccinated nearly 80% of its population and has reported virtually no vaccine-related deaths. That's a big divergence from other nations, which have already recorded thousands of adverse reactions and even some deaths. So, is it a miracle, or is something else at play? Last month, China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention announced that over 1.1 billion of its citizens have been vaccinated with Chinese-made shots. But there's something odd going on. Although China regularly releases updates on its vaccination progress, it almost never reports on any vaccine-related deaths, side effects, or adverse reactions. The lack of information begs the question, has China been trying to obscure this data? One user commented on the issue online through Chinese social media platform Weibo. Referring to China's CDC announcement, they wrote, over 1.1 billion people across the country have been vaccinated with the coronavirus vaccine. The media from top to bottom is silent on the side effects and adverse reactions of the vaccine. Is this strange or normal? In this special report, we look at some of the cases that Beijing may have intentionally left unreported. So far, Beijing has only released one report detailing how many people have experienced reactions from the Chinese shots. The report was released in May. It doesn't mention any vaccine-related deaths. To watch today's full special report, click the link in the description down below. We are working with Epoch TV, and all Friday special reports are published there in full length. October 1st is called National Day in China. While Hong Kong officials celebrate the founding of the communist regime, protesters march outside, calling for justice for jailed pro-democracy activists. But there were notably far fewer people than in years past.
October the 1st is the 72nd anniversary of China's National Day. Hong Kong officially held a flag-raising ceremony to mark the day. Its chief executive, Carrie Lam, hosted a reception. Meanwhile, 4 pro-democracy protesters took the street. They were marching towards Hong Kong's convention center, the venue for the official celebration. Dozens of police surrounded them while they marched and chanted "Free political prisoners" and "Power to the people." The protesters were holding a placard with images of many pro-democracy activists who were jailed in recent months under the national security law. Critics call the law the end of Hong Kong. It allows Beijing to step in to deal with activity that could challenge its authority. The police stopped the protesters when they were close to the ceremony venue to shut them down and prevent them from reaching Lam and Communist Party officials on site. According to public broadcaster RTHK, Hong Kong authorities deployed over 8,000 police officers across the city. China's National Day was widely considered a day to protest in Hong Kong, but the crowds have been shrinking drastically each year. In 2019, during the extensive unrest on National Day, authorities said 51 people were injured and nearly 100 arrested.
And how is the Chinese Communist Party showing its national pride on the National Day? With a mass air incursion of Taiwan's air defense zone. The Taiwanese Defense Ministry said that 38 Chinese aircraft had entered its air defense zone, including 2 nuclear-capable bombers. Taiwan sent combat aircraft to warn away the Chinese aircraft, while missile systems were deployed to monitor them. The number of planes in this incursion was 10 more than China's all-time record of 28 aircraft that happened in June this year. And also this year, China has been sending military planes into Taiwan more frequently compared to last year. China's latest incursion came less than a day after China delivered an intense denunciation of Taiwan's foreign minister. China claims self-ruled Taiwan as its own territory, despite the island having its own democratically elected president, its own currency, government, military, and constitution. Beijing slammed Taiwan's foreign minister on Thursday, calling him a die-hard activist. The minister has been outspoken against the so-called One China policy. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Beijing delivered an unprecedented denunciation of Taiwanese Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. It called the minister a die-hard Taiwanese independence activist. This despite Taiwan never being ruled by Communist China. The democratic island views itself as a sovereign country. The Chinese regime accused Wu of madly spreading ideas about Taiwan independence and said he peddled lies that Taiwan is a country of its own. It also said that all forms of comments on Taiwan's independence are but flies humming. The Taiwanese government responded to the remarks on Friday. It called them inappropriate.
We
feel the job of the Taiwan Affairs Office should be to serve the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. So I think the remarks, firstly, it's very indecent and out of character.
China's Taiwan Affairs Office is an organ of the Chinese Communist regime. It carries out the party's policies towards Taiwan. It was this office that made the remarks. Mr. Chu says he hopes the office will be more respectful in the future.
We feel if we want the future of the two sides of the Taiwan Strait to develop in a healthy way, it is definitely not achieved through verbal struggle or tug of war. So we hope that the Taiwan Affairs Office will deliver more decent speeches in the future.
Meanwhile, Minister Wu seemed unmoved by the remarks. On Friday, Taiwan's foreign ministry said the regime's remarks were not worth talking about. Don Ma, NTD News.
And in Taiwan, people gathered on October 1st before the country's parliament building to show their support for human rights in China, taking a stand against the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. They say while the regime is celebrating its National Day for Chinese people, this day should be called a National Day of Mourning.
Today, October the 1st, is the 72nd anniversary of the Chinese Communist regime. However, outside the Taiwanese parliament, a global anti-communist gathering is being held. It's co-hosted by Hong Kong Outlanders and a number of other human rights groups. Let's take a look.
We organized this event to directly point out the essence of the totalitarianism of the Chinese Communist Party. It's very important that while democratic countries around the world are supporting Taiwan, Taiwanese people should be more brave to support other oppressed people. We must show our moral courage and let people of other countries know that Taiwan is a place with democracy and freedom, and that the people here will make good use of our democracy and freedom to help other oppressed people. The Chinese Communist Party is like an evil spirit wandering around the world. I think this is an objective fact, and it gets worse and worse. If it can't scare others, it will infiltrate. If it can't infiltrate, it'll use violence. Hong Kong is a very important example. This is why we have this big gathering today. Don't think October 1st is a national celebration. It's simply a mark of shame for everyone. I hope everyone will go beyond this shame and create a better tomorrow.
And joining the gathering were also human rights activists from Hong Kong, Tibet, and Burma, also known as Myanmar. Now we turn to a protest in Boston.
Take the flag down! Take it down!
The demonstrators are protesting against the city's decision to raise the Chinese flag. Here's a little bit of context. October 1st marks the day the Chinese Communist Party officially took control of China. And in China, the regime calls it the National Day. And each year around this time, Boston has hoisted the Chinese flag to honor the day. The event also drew people protesting against Beijing's human rights abuses.
Free the Uyghur Muslims now! Free the Uyghur Muslims now!
Uyghurs are an ethnic minority in China. They are mostly concentrated in China's Xinjiang region. The U.S. says Beijing is committing genocide against Uyghurs, including through mass detention and forced sterilizations. Back in Boston, one protester holds a sign that reads, "Time for Massachusetts to sever ties with the Chinese Communist Party." Another holds a sign that says, "I am a Chinese person, but I won't be Beijing's agent in America." As for the flag-raising ceremony, it didn't go too smoothly, the flag getting stuck halfway through because of a technical issue. Victory for the Chinese regime could mean defeat for some everyday men and women standing up for their basic rights. We speak with some of them to get a better understanding of their experience. NTD's Juliet Song has the details.
For the Chinese Communist Party, October the 1st means big celebrations in Tiananmen Square. But for a large group of people trying to stand up for their individual rights in China, October the 1st has a different meaning altogether.
Today is a sad day for us, and I'm not at home because I'm trying to escape from the police, who are after me.
Jiang is a petitioner, and there are tens of thousands of people like him in China. Petitioners have usually suffered mistreatment or abuse, but can't find justice through the legal system. And in order to circumvent corrupt local officials, these people flock to Beijing every year to appeal to a higher authority, hoping to get justice this way. But what follows is often police arrest or detention, especially during big political events or important days like October the 1st. Jiang says Beijing police and local authorities in different places are arresting petitioners, and authorities have put some under house arrest, like this petitioner from Shandong.
Authorities have robbed me of my personal property. They also sentenced me. I really dare not to say anything right now. No one is going to give me justice.
Rights groups say authorities beat another petitioner from northern China, and that he was sent back to his hometown afterwards. Other petitioners were blocked on their way to Beijing, like this one from Hubei province. She found herself surrounded by officials midway through her ride. She eventually made it to Beijing, but right after she got off the train, another group of people were waiting to block her. And petitioners may also encounter violent treatment, like the woman in this video. To clarify, this video was filmed last year before the National Day. But rights groups do say it's common for petitioners to suffer abuses while they appeal for justice. Juliet Song, NTD News.
An official survey shows factories in China are struggling. September's manufacturing activity fell. That's according to a new index released Thursday. It's the first time the official survey showed activity shrinking since the pandemic began. According to China's National Bureau of Statistics, the soaring cost of energy is striking factories hard. It says high-energy businesses have not been prospering. Construction and manufacturing have driven much of China's economic recovery this year. But the power shortage poses a serious challenge to the industry. Power shortages began in June but have since worsened. People generally agree there are two reasons for the crunch. One is soaring coal prices. The other is Beijing's order to reduce carbon emissions. Blackouts for households and factories soon spread to over 20 provinces in China. China State Grid Corporation even said this week that it would go all out to fight the tough battle of power supply. Analysts at Goldman Sachs trimmed their 2021 Chinese growth forecasts, saying there's considerable uncertainty in the final quarter of the year. And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching. But before you go, we will give you a glimpse into next Friday's special report. During World War I, Great Britain turned its mastery of a crucial technology into a formidable weapon against Germany. Today, another country is aiming to take over the same industry through one of its star companies. The country is China, and the company is Huawei. In this special report, we look at how the Chinese telecoms company is helping the Communist Party achieve its global ambitions, how far they've gone, and what Chinese dominance of that technology could mean for the world.